undisclosed cemetery where his mother and sister were buried. Despite all efforts made by various tribes to protect their homelands and their natural-born rights to stay there, the Hunkpapa Lakota were met with continuous resistance from the U.S. government. On December 29, 1890, on the Lakota Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota, U.S. troops intercepted Spotted Elk's Miniconjou Lakota and several members of the Hunkpapa Lakota. The troop then escorted them 5 miles west, where they stopped to make camp at Wounded Knee Creek. Shortly thereafter, the camp was joined by the rest of the 7th Cavalry Regiment, who happened to have 4 Hotchkiss mountain guns in tow. It was still morning when gunfire commenced. There's no solid claim as to who fired the first shot, though some accounts state that a deaf tribesman named Black Coyote had started a scuffle when he resisted in handing over his rifle to the U.S. soldiers who had tried to take it from him. The disarmament of the rest of the Indian residents had already begun. However it started, the 7th Cavalry made no hesitation in opening fire and killed about 300 unarmed Indian men, women, and children, including Miniconjou Sioux leader Bigfoot in the process. Many of the soldiers were also killed in the gunfire, some by defending Lakotas and others by their own men. It has been heavily speculated that the attack was in fact made in response to the increased presence of the ghost dance. It was a promise that more violence would follow unless the Native Americans ceased in their resistance against the U.S. government. The prophet, Wavoka, had had visions of the return of Christian Messiah Jesus Christ, but in the form of a Native American. In his vision, he had also seen the return of the nearly extinct buffalo population and the eradication of the white man. The ghost dance became part of a religious movement that spread quickly throughout local Indian tribes, and the knowledge of what it stood for added to the existing contention between the U.S. government and those who practiced it. Enough so that such acts as the Wounded Knee Massacre continued to take place. As the U.S. government was busy moving Indians to appointed reservations, the circumstances of tribes in the Wallowa Valley of Oregon Territory were no better. Joseph the Elder had been baptized in 1838, becoming one of the early Nez Perce leaders converted to Christianity. It had brought temporary peace between his people and the nearby white settlers. 2 years later, his son was born, and in 1855, a treaty put the Nez Perce on a reservation. Still, peace remained. This began to change, however, when gold was discovered on Nez Perce land, and white prospectors began to invade in search of promised fortune. As it had already done in so many other Indian territories, the U.S. government retracted millions of acres of reservation land and remapped it for the claim of white settlers. Anger amongst the Nez Perce flared, and Joseph the Elder denounced any friendly connections with his American neighbors. By destroying his Bible and refusing to release his people's land by accepting new reservation boundaries. In 1871, Joseph the Elder of the Nez Perce Indians passed away, and his